sunlight begins to fade now, and I feel like I'm losing time, but I don't know how I'm here. The sunlight is turned to grey, and I feel like I'm losing love again. I don't know how I'm here. I could feel your heartbeat. I could feel somewhere you're looking now. I could feel your heartbeat. I could feel somewhere you're looking now. 'Cause it's you I'm loving, and it's you that I wanna breathe. And it's you I'm loving, and it's you that I wanna need.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon indeed, and welcome to the Sim Grid and the Endurance Cup for round one here at Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, one of the greatest racing circuits in the world, the Temple of Speed, right in the heart of Italy. My name is Chaz Draycott. Joining me on the comms today, we have Mr. Kyle himself, which you may have heard previously on the Sim Grid, and Connall Courtney. Connall, just starting with you, mate. A hell of a circuit for us to come to for the first round of this championship, isn't it?
Yeah, one of the real historical circuits. I mean, everyone knows Monza, everyone knows the history behind it, everyone knows the prestige of winning a Monza event, and it really is one of the ones that every driver wants to have on their resume is a win at Monza.
Certainly is. And of course, Kyle as well, you've done quite a bit of commentary previously, of course, on the Sim Grid, as I alluded to there. Any of the drivers out there at the moment that you've seen in the other series before that you've got your eye on?
Well, we're having a look now at the top of the timesheets at the moment. It's Malorink there on the top of the timesheet here in free practice. He's someone we've seen in the GT4 launch night. And of course, on Thursday night, we saw him out on circuit. I expect him to be quite high up. And obviously, Courtney from the name escapes me now, but Motorworks, one of the drivers there who are always in the front of every single event I've commentated on recently in the Sim Grid.
Well, there's certainly some good talent out there. We're just looking at Gregor Schill at the moment as well. Gregor was in one of the Coach Dave tournament rounds that I commentated on as well. Just having a quick scan through some of the cars that are in the pit lane. We'll try and find someone out on track. Here we go. We've got Mika Nowakowski on circuit at the moment. The very bright green and purple Aston Martin, and I tell you what, it's a hell of a good looking car, this one, isn't it, Connall? And of course it sounds incredible as well to go with it.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. Nowakowski, of course, was taking part in those crazy GT4 races that we had on GT4 launch night. We've seen a couple of the guys here. If you did indeed watch the GT4 launch night, we've seen a couple of guys, of course, Ibrahimi doing the double there. He's in the Porsche now. He was in the BMW in the GT4 race, but he's a guy to watch out for, I think, in this race. Very good defensive driver. He was able to keep a lot of guys behind him who were really putting him under pressure. There's 4 or 5 cars that were on him for pretty much the entire race, and he was able to keep them at bay. So he's definitely one to look out for as we head into the qualifying session.
Yep, of course, as he says, qualifying will be taking place very, very soon. And to be honest, Kyle, around Monza, a lot of the time it's very much about mind games around here. You have to be really on it and think about when to slipstream people, when to take your chance, and of course put moves on each other, because if you're giving the guy the slipstream behind you, obviously you're losing that advantage and you're just helping them along, whether they're saving fuel, of course, over a longer race like this, or whether they're going to be just lining you up for a move further along down the line. It's a bit of a mental circuit, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very much a circuit that is basically 2 drag strips connected by a couple of corners. So it's very much a straight line sort of circuit. We see a lot of McLarens on the grid today in the 3 hour, but it's definitely going to be a mind game, putting pressure on the driver in front of you, and whether or not, strategy-wise, I think strategy is going to make a big difference here over 3 hours.
Certainly will, and it's what we all love in the GT racing world, and of course on a set of Corsa Competizione we get the chance to have these fantastic longer races with the beautiful visuals that we get, and of course the epic sounds as well. Speaking of the sounds, I will be turning the car volume up in just a moment, everybody, so hold on to your hats because it's going to get raspy. but we have the music just playing out at the minute. But it's great to be here for the first round of this one. Really looking forward to working with everybody at the Sim Grid. Michael, of course, has been putting in a hell of a lot of effort behind the scenes with, of course, David as well. And it's just never ending, the effort that those guys put in. And of course, Connall, you've got previous experience with them as well, but I'm sure it'll sort of reflect the same comments, that it's just so full on at the Sim Grid. Everyone's just really on it, and it's a great community, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is fantastic. I mean, I started out, my first commentary gig was all but 2 weeks ago, and the production team and everybody behind Sim Grid has been phenomenal, and a big shout out to the racing. It makes it so much easier, as you guys know, to commentate when the racing is phenomenal, as it has been. And I think I've been spoilt in the past 3 or 4 races that I've done for Sim Grid, because the racing has just been top notch. We've had 4 guys going at it in the last lap. We've had guys sideways coming out of the last corner trying to defend leads. It's just been phenomenal races, and I expect nothing less in this Monza race today.
And that's what we all know and love about GT racing, especially the GT3 category as well. And we've got some very beautiful machinery on show. Like Kyle said, we've got some McLarens out there today, like this 720S of Thiago Lima at the moment for Sim Racing Spot, the bright orange machine. It's not going to be easy to miss that one. Flying down the straight here at Monza, great sound as well. And it's a bit of a strange one, isn't it, Kyle? Because the McLarens, I've always said this about them, while they are V8s, they don't sound like the normal sort of big, chunky, lumpy American V8s that we come to expect from 8-cylinder engines.
Yeah, the Brits do tend to do things a little bit differently, especially in the engineering. But the sound of this car is rather different to what we expect. We expect a low, deep sort of a tone to it, but it's definitely not so. And I think that has a lot to do with turbos on it and the way they've configured the design of the car as well. I mean, the air rushing over the aerodynamics of the vehicle make a big difference to the sound of it, especially at top speed as well. So, but interesting to see them using a lot of seeing a lot of McLarens out there. It's a car that I've never really been able to come to grips with. It is rather easy to drive, but it does tend to understeer and push the nose, especially in the mid corner. But their top speed is very good, so maybe that's why they decided to use that car at a circuit like Monza.
Yeah, that's it. And especially from when I was speaking to Michael, the guys do not get the chance to change cars over the course of a season, so everything's going to be locked in. And I think that's going to make it even better, because some of the guys will want to get off to a good start here and have a strong first showing at Monza. And like you say, picking the McLaren for the straight line speed, definitely the way to go. But over the rest of the season, it could get a bit more difficult. We're just looking at Matthias Weber at the moment for Sim RC. Sim RC have actually been racing in some other series that I've been broadcasting on other Sims as well. So that's not an unfamiliar name to myself. And Sim RC, to be honest, have been right up there in a lot of series that I've seen as well. And the bright yellow and black is their sort of characteristic colour scheme, let's say. We've only got a couple of cars out on track at the moment. Some of the guys a bit further down. Nicolas Bosselet in the other Porsche, the grey and purple and black at the rear end, as he proves me. Looking very good there. Nice pops and bangs on the downshift. And, I mean, for people that don't have much experience with the actual sim itself, Connall, there's quite a lot of different aspects that you see here that are very immersive, aren't they? Like, the visuals are a lot more realistic than most, but the sounds in a set of Corsa Competizione are very good, aren't they?
Yeah, very much so. I think it's the first thing, or one of the first things that you do indeed notice in SEC is just the growl of the engine, so much more enhanced. If you're playing this, if you're getting it for the first time, please get yourself a good headset, because just listening to these cars, I could sit in pit lane and rev them all day. Especially things like the Porsche and everything just sound violent. It really does sound exactly what you want in a race car.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of sims in the past have they've always put the pops and bangs in as well. We all love a bit of backfire, but it's never to the sort of exaggeration or the actual volume that you get in real life, where it makes you flinch. Like, there's definitely not really many sims that can sort of make that happen, but you see that in ACC. So we have the number 76 Aston Martin of Hannes Nord coming in the pit lane there. That's a great shot of it at the front of the car as well. It's a very angry looking bit of kit. We also have Nicolas Bosselet, who we were just looking at there, still out on circuit. Ryan Whitlock as well is a name that I recognise from one of the Coach Dave Academy races. Whether I'm correct or not, we will have to wait and see. But that Aston, what a noise that thing makes. Really does sound good. As he goes down towards Ascari, we have qualifying in just a couple of minutes then. Well, in just a minute. So things should kick off very, very shortly. And there you go. The cars flick into position. The session has ended, apparently. We'll get on to things here. There you go. And everyone will want to take advantage of this, won't they, here on this one, Kyle? They want to get out as soon as possible and try and take advantage of the clear air at the front of the pack. Well, it's easier said than done around here.
Yeah, it's a bit difficult. I mean, the circuit not the longest circuit on the grid, on the calendar. So getting out there first, getting out there early, you'll get a clean lap for your first out lap, maybe your first flyer, but there will be a lot of guys in and out of the pits. The nice thing with the ACC is that new track mod that they have brought out, the track map. So you can log onto or bring it up on screen and see where there is a bit of clear air. Having a look at what I can see on the right-hand side of the screen there, if you have a look for our viewers, the track looking very congested for the first lap. So everybody getting out there as soon as possible. There's a track map I was talking about. And we can see everybody just getting out of the pits as soon as possible and trying to get laps in as early as possible. Not the greatest of strategies. It's always better to try and find yourself some clear air, especially around a circuit like this. It takes a couple of laps for or at least a lap or two for you to get your tires up to temperature in the car to the point where it will be doing its fastest laps, and you don't want to do that in traffic.
Yeah, that's it. You want to make sure you leave the space. I've been in too many a racing league on any sort of sim, and guys just go straight out there. And I mean, look at this lot now as well. We've got Felix is sorry, not Felix in 12th. This is Thiago Lima again. So we just look at the front camera. You can see the traffic in front of him here on board with the McLaren. A couple of Porsches as well trying to sort themselves out, but this is the thing really, Connall. I mean, you can wait and of course hang back a bit and try and find the space, but like Kyle said, it's not the longest circuit, so you can very quickly get caught up by the cars behind as well.
Yeah, not only is it not the longest circuit, it's not the longest session, especially for an endurance event. Getting dialed in for 3 hours, a 20-minute qualifying session really does feel like a shootout. It seems to be in any form of racing that any driver who does overthinks things in qualifying. And you've seen people mess up their qualifying strategies much more than they do perhaps their race strategies. The straights here potentially making people almost paranoid that they need to get that slipstream to get a fast lap. But if I were anybody out on track right now, I'd be focusing on getting that cleaner.
Definitely, it's the right thing to do, and sometimes you can obviously try and get a bit of slipstream off people in front because of these massive straights here at the Temple of Speed, but it's not always the preferred option. So we'll have to see what the guys do. We've got a couple of guys that have started their laps now. Then you can see here they're all checking up just before Parabolica, but that means they're not carrying all the speed into there as well and getting the run down onto the straight. Just looking now at Igor and the like and subscribe team, loving the team name. The Porsche screaming its way down the straight here. That flat six, it's a legendary noise in motorsport, isn't it, Kyle? It's known all over the world, no matter where you come from, that Porsche flat six.
No, absolutely. I mean, you you don't even have to try and have a look over the pit wall to see a car coming past you. You know it's a Porsche. I mean, in the real world, at Swackham's Raceway, we've got a race going on now in terms of a 3-hour endurance, and just logging onto the stream, first car to come past with a Porsche. I didn't even have to look at it. I just heard it.
Yeah.
So absolutely a distinguishable sign. But I mean, you were mentioning the like and subscribe team, the team names that these guys come up with. I've seen some rather special ones in terms of the sim grid. It's always something to have a good giggle at. They come up with some very interesting team names. I've seen FFS Racing. I'm not going to try and guess what that stands for. And then obviously, we've seen Team Disconnect and how do I work this thing. It is something that the guys come with on the sim grid, which adds a bit of humor to this. But a 3-hour endurance, we're talking about qualifying and trying to get hot laps and get decent track position. In a 3-hour endurance race, is it that important? I mean, as long as you're not in that midfield matzo pudding heading into the first chicane and you can make it out the first chicane, you've got 3 hours to make track position. So, is it the end of the world if you don't set a flying or blistering hot lap? I'm not so sure.
Yeah, it can work into your favour sometimes, but then if you get stuck in a battle that pushes you a bit further down the order, then you can very easily lose out. And before you know it, you're out of the slipstream with the guys ahead. We were looking at Lucas Cruiser, who was top, but Samir Ibrahimi is now top in the Lilac Pro Spieltrieb team, number 99, the German driver there, doing a 1:48.162. You can see the gaps on the left-hand side. We've got second separating, or just over a second, separating the top 12 as Martin Lorenc is now second, the Czech driver for Connection Lost. There you go, Kyle mentioned their team name just a moment ago. Lucas Cruiser is now in third position. Igor Godnori? No, I'm not going to go and get that wrong the first time round, so we'll just call him Igor for now until I've decided how we're going to pronounce that one. Connor, I imagine, as Gregor Schill goes fastest in the very pretty matte black Ferrari, but I imagine that due to the sort of international nature of the sim grid, Connall, there's going to be a lot of names over the course of the season that we struggle with.
Yeah, well, funny enough, my own first name is a name that people at home struggle with. But it seems as though people not from Ireland seem to get it more accurate more often than people at home. So yeah, that's an interesting dynamic. It's normally the other way around, but we've such an international range. I mean, we've people from, I think, almost every time zone. Phenomenal. It just shows you the appeal of the sim grid and these endurance races.
Definitely. And of course, the aspect that we all have to think about is ping, an internet connection. It's one of the beautiful parts of sim racing. These guys all over the world. It's one of the McLarens off the circuit there, just nipping back to the pit lane, I imagine. I think that was the Bentley there, number 3. That's Stavros Konstantinidis.
Ooh.
Nearly? I tried.
I'm glad you're taking it, not me.
Yeah, leaving those all to you, bud. We're going to leave those all to you, Chaz.
Konstantinidis, I'm going to go with. We'll try that.
I'm going to agree with you on that one.
We still need to figure out.
We did mention team names earlier, and I mean, you'll have a look at the front of the grid there. We've got Sidemax Motorworks. We always expect to see them in the front. Lucas Kreuzer, the Cruiser. I've actually nicknamed him because of all the pole positions he's hit. Coach Dave Academy, and I mean, these are cars that we're seeing in the front of almost every sim grid event, and it seems to be that they're becoming a bit of qualifying experts there.
Yeah, they certainly are getting the job done, and that's the thing. I mean, over a lot of was the number 24. That's Rafael Ballerini having an issue there. Becomes very well acquainted with the wall. That was just out of Ascari. Let's just have a quick look back, see if we can catch what happened there. It's just a bit of gravel on the exit, and bang, into the barrier he goes. What an absolute nightmare. Absolute nightmare for him there, and he's managed to try and drag it back to the pits. But here's your current pole sitter then, just coming back out of the pit lane. Samir Ibrahimi, the Lilac Pro Spiel Tribe car. Nice livery on that, to be fair, and it certainly complements the shape of the Porsche. There's not many there's not many liveries that don't look good on the GT3R, and especially the Cup cars as well as the Connall. It's a very flattering car for any sort of paint job.
Yeah, I think that's complementary to the aesthetics of the Porsche itself. I mean, every Porsche I wouldn't mind having in my garage, that's for sure. But Ibrahimi, currently the pole man, but as we see, as per usual, the amount of guys covered by a second in these races is ridiculous. Cruiser, Kyle's always banging on about him, and rightly so. He is always a fast man going for pole. But it's interesting to see guys, if you've been following SimGrid races, guys like Lorenc and Schill, not normally in their cars of choice per se, or at least their cars of choice in the Sprint Cup. So obviously 3 drivers that they've had, 2 or 3 drivers in this endurance team per team. So it'll be interesting to see how these guys cope with the different cars that they're in.
Yeah, that's part of GT3 racing that I love, is just the variation in the machinery. You know, you've got rear engine stuff such as the Porsche, you've got the McLaren, of course, mid-engined, then you've got the big old boat, the Bentley, front-engined. We all love a Bentley, don't we? I mean, it's a hell of a car. When you watch it absolutely chugging its way around the circuit, it's just crazy to think that from the road car they take 1.5 tons out of it. That way, that's more than a Renault Clio that they're taking out of that car from standard. Most of it's that ridiculously expensive Japanese wood that they put in them. I only live, as the crow flies, I only actually live a mile from the Bentley factory. So whenever they're taking all the brand new models and stuff out on test drives and stuff, you see them around here, and there's a lovely council estate that they drive them around here, and I'm not sure why they do it, because there's so much threat of them being bricked on their first day out. I don't know why they do it, but they make it back to the factory on most occasions, I believe. But yes, at the moment I think we only have the one Bentley. I'm going to skim through a couple of cars and just see who we've got then. So Ryan Whitlock's in an Aston Martin, Humberto Moghetti with definitely my favourite name on the entire grid in the 101 Audi. Oh, no, never mind, he's not. He's in the McLaren. I thought it was following the Audi for a second there. Lukas Sprusanski is in the Lexus, so it's Lucas Lexus. That's not going to catch on, is it, boys? That's really, really not going to catch on.
Works for me.
Hind Sai is in the, or is it Saig? Saig in the Aston Martin, the Belgian driver. Rory Davis in the number 1 McLaren, obviously putting the number 1 on that. Well, that's confidence, I think, isn't it, Kyle? Usually the number 1's reserved for champions, so Team Cool Boys, very confident to put the big 1 on the car.
Yeah, but I mean, their confidence just exudes. Team Cool Boys, even with the team name as well. So they're definitely putting a target on their backs, and then saying, well, here you go, boys. We're here for split 1. We're here for the honors. Maybe they were aiming for a split 2. Who knows? But to put a number 1 on your car is definitely something that taking a lot of curb there in the McLaren. That's something that the Porsches aren't able to do around the circuit either. I mean, we saw that mistake there from the bright pink Porsche. Out of it, I think it was a Sky there, was it? But I mean, that's mostly due to grabbing just a little bit too much curb before you try and change direction. But that's something that McLaren can do very well is hop a lot of curbs and jump a lot of curbs. And heading into Silverstone, it should be quite comfortable around there as well.
Yeah, it's interesting the different characteristics that you're going to get from these cars, and especially as the season goes on, each track being very different. We'll have to see what they can manage. Another McLaren here, number 112 of Menno van der Molen through the second chicane. It's very tough there as well. You need to determine whether you're going to take all of the chicane curb in the first part of the chicane or the second one, and depending on who you're battling, of course, that can determine that for you. Here's Kilian Ryan Meenan. Oh, there's a car off in the background there. One of the McLarens just around. That's not ideal through there. Oh, here's another Bentley then. Dominic Tower, the Czech driver, Bentley Team M Sport. So he's just gone for the solid colours on that, and what a livery that is. I mean, we saw the Bentley livery at the Bathurst 12 Hours was absolutely gorgeous, but that green, it really does complement the car, doesn't it, on this one, Connall? Because usually they're associated with like a very sort of mild colour or a nice British racing green or even a champagne colour, but just the lime green metallic just looks mega on it, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's phenomenal. We'll have to get some form of livery contest going and get all the liveries together and pile them in.
Definitely.
Because there's some fantastic liveries out here. I just want to give a shout out to Kilian Ryan Meenan, the first Irishman I've seen out on track. The only Irishman I believe on the grid at the minute. So yeah, big shout out. Hopefully we'll get more Irish guys on a personal note. But yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how these McLarens get on. And of course the Ferraris at home. You would think that the Ferraris, although there's not many out there, you would think that the Ferraris would have a good showing around here. Yeah,
definitely. And at the moment, the highest place Ferrari is second place Gregor Schill. This is Samir Ibrahimi that was second before. Lucas Cruiser in the other Porsche has actually gone top now, as one of the DRS boards going flying there, or I believe the braking markers. These things don't have DRS boards. Don't be silly, Chaz. Interesting to see one of the Lamborghinis out there as well. Just going to try and have a scan down the order and see who was driving that one. It was not Rory Davis because he's in the number 1. My eyesight is really, really letting me down here, trying to figure out where the Lamborghini is on the left-hand side of the screen. So we'll find it one day. We'll get there eventually, boys. We'll get there eventually. However, we've got a fantastic field at the moment as Mr. Davis goes up into 23rd and takes advantage of the sim racing world by pulling the car over, popping it into the wall a little bit and saying, right, boys, give me a new one. I want to go back out and set a better lap. There we go. There's the Lamborghini. Joachim Stensnas? Stenstas? No. Let's try. We'll try later on. Honestly, everyone, as this season goes on, it'll get easier. You can all put F's in chat for my pronunciations. Don't worry. And there's a big oof there as well in the background. But yeah, it's always flashing as well. He knows he's on stream. Oh no, he doesn't. He's just telling that. he's telling the Aston to get out of the way, and it certainly worked. As some of them are thinking, oh, I wonder what this would be like if there was no chicane. However, I'm going to fanboy over the V10 now, and we're going to go on board with the Lambo because, well, Lambo. That's just nothing needs to be said, does it, guys?
Hashtag beautiful sound. That's it.
Yes.
I'm so glad someone else is butchering names and it's not me this time. I've struggled with these European names. I mean, I'm from a little country in Africa. For me to try and pronounce some of these European names are... I've said it many times. Please just drop us messages in the Discord. Let us know we're getting it wrong. And in fact, I actually saw him on the list here. It's McOfferman. I had a bit of a giggle at him on Thursday night about his surname. He did say it is a pun on his actual French surname. So Mick off oven is not his legit surname, but I had a right bit of fun with that on Thursday night.
Smashing stuff, smashing. Well, like Kyle said there, everybody. If there are names that we are butchering, please do send us a nice message in Discord that helps us pronounce them. We don't mean to get them wrong, but if we do get them wrong, we will make it at least entertaining for you. And to be honest, I will, once I get a little bit more comfortable with the names, the puns will come out. Don't you worry, they are lined up and they are inevitable. There was a series I was commentating on recently where there was a driver from Switzerland called Karn Newen. Lovely guy. However, he binned his car and I said that he needed a new one. And that went down like a cup of cold sick with everyone watching the stream, as you can imagine. To be honest, there's going to be a lot of that as the season goes on. However, qualifying is very much almost over, actually. 4 minutes to go, Connall, and that's flown by here, hasn't it, to be honest? But time flies when you're having fun, mate.
Yeah, and it'll absolutely have flown by for these guys setting these laps. No surprise we have Cruiser at the front, but look at those gap time. 20 covered by a second. I mean, that's phenomenal. We might have just a 3-hour sprint race here.
Yeah, to be honest as well, if you look at Tower down in 18th place, he's 0.003 of a second off the car in front, and he's 0.003 of a second ahead of the car behind him. And then he's actually set an identical time. So Diedrich and Leaf have set similar times. Then there's only 30 thousandths back to Nord. Another 3 thousandths and 2 identical times to Rossetti and Beausoleil. And then 2 more identical times to Hillebrand and Braun. Absolutely incredible this is. It's like Jerez 97 here, but we've not quite got 3 of them setting identical times at the top. But Lucas Cruiser doesn't care about that at the moment, does he, Kyle? He'll be happy that he's right up there.
Yeah, that's why I call him the Cruiser. He's done this so often in the sim grid, pop it on pole and leave it there. Actually, often he's done it on the last lap wonder of qualifying. He goes and pops it on pole. It is a bit different to see him up there so early on in qualifying. But it must be so frustrating to go, I'm only 0.1 off pole position or 0.2 off pole position and you're 3-4 places behind him. It must be so frustrating to think, I found 2/10 in this lap, I can go up a few and you're only just off the front. But you check and you're just inside the top 10 or whatever.
Yeah, it's pretty mad, to be honest, when you're in a qualifying session like this. You just give it everything you've got, and then you just wait and see where you end up. And then if you need to improve, sometimes you can just manage to pull tenths out the bag that you didn't know they were there before. It's quite scary. We're looking at Greg Schell at the moment in the Coach Dave Academy car, all matte black Ferrari 488 GT3. It's just the GT3, isn't it, in a set of course competition? It's not the Evo, is it, at this point? Or I think it might be. I'm not sure. I think it's the Evo because it's got the strange oval exhausts on the rear rather than the round ones that the first one had. But either way, a stunning car. And again, GT3, it's the way to look, isn't it? Really, you want a car to look as good as GT3 cars all the time. Jan Beerman in the chat says, "Why no Jaguar here?" That is literally the first thing I thought, mate. I absolutely adore the Jag XKRs, but I know that it's not everyone's cup of tea. It's like the bounties in a box of celebrations. I really like them, but no one else seems to. Benjamin Letalek at the moment, the French driver in an Audi. There's got to be a joke in there somewhere about that. He's coming into the second chicane, managing to negotiate that nicely. The beautiful V10 roar of the Audi R8 into the Lesmos. The change downs on that's so aggressive as well. Big pops and bangs. You can see the braking marker on the right hand side of your shot there has been taken for granted by someone. Unfortunately though, Humberto Maghetti is bottom of the pile at the moment for Mano Lima Esports, and to be honest, number of the devil here, Connall, number 666. It looks like a 2Cs car that actually with the delivery on it, but we were expecting all of the McLarens to be doing very well, but he's quite a while off the next one further up the order.
Yeah, strange. Of course, we know the McLaren should theoretically, when you look at the strengths and weaknesses of each car, be up there, but he's just popped up now. He's gone off the bottom of the pile. Maybe he's just getting settled in, although he'd need to do that quite quickly. 45 seconds remain. But when you're in and it's one thing racing for yourself. When you're racing for one or two other people as well, and when you're in a team, there is that added bit of pressure, and some people might just struggle with that a little bit in qualifying trim. But in saying that, I mean, he's 39th and he's 1.7 seconds off. So realistically speaking, he's not a million miles off.
No, definitely not. It's 1.8 seconds covering the whole field. It's just absolutely mind-blowingly close. Alex Leaf at the moment in the Bentley, 9th position. 777, the highest Bentley in the field. The next one is Wenlock in 13th. We actually have quite a couple of them, to be honest, with this one. Let's have a quick look, though. Apparently, P4... Oh, no, never mind. Apparently, P4 was on a fast lap not too long ago, but not anymore. It seems like that did not come to fruition. And Leaf pulling the car over there, right in front of the pit wall, in front of the camera, as one of the Porsches goes across the line. That was, I believe, yep, Samir Ibrahimi. Doesn't quite improve there. He finishes the session in 3rd place. But I can't believe how quickly that session's gone by, lads. That's, I mean, Kyle, we've literally just introduced ourselves to each other, and we're already at the end of a qualifying session.
Oh, well, that's what happens when you got great company on the mics, eh? Gets done nice and early.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's nice and easy when you're having fun. But nice to see Kreuzer up on the front there with Schill just behind him. I must mention, though, the Bentleys and the Audis, obviously, I'm a little bit biased. They're my favorite cars out here because they're both driven by South Africans in the series. I mean, the Ferrari also, I'm quite lean towards that because of David. But I think the Bentley a good choice for an endurance series like this, especially with 3 different drivers having to get used to 3 different setups. Some like understeer, some like oversteer. So probably the most balanced car out there and probably the most balanced on all the circuits.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you on that one. And here's the gentleman that's only going to be known as Igor in this series. He's currently 6th, only 3/10 off the top, so he's got plenty of opportunity at the start of this one coming up. But that already, everybody, does round out qualifying very, very quickly there. So it is Lucas Kreuzer that takes pole position then. He can be very, very pleased with himself there. Beautiful shot of the cars in the pit lane. And, of course, a couple of cars sharing the pit box there as well, just in case it does look a bit strange to you. So Kreuzer takes pole, 9 thousandths from Gregor Schill. Samir Ibrahimi finishes in 3rd with Weidlich in 4th. Then it's Lorenz and Igor, the legend himself, in 6th with Rafael Borges Ballerini, 7th. Joachim Stensnes in 8th. Killian, the Irishman, in 9th place. I'm sure Connall will be probably spraying champagne all over the place already for that one. P9 will be happy with that. Alex Leaf in 9th. And then it was Thiago Lima that will be in 11th. So, what we're going to do, everybody, now that qualifying is over, the stream will be coming to an end, and we're going to get everything set up for the race stream, which will be going on at 2:45 p.m. British summertime. So, in about half an hour. And then we'll be back with you for the race, and everything will be underway for 3 hours. But just off what we've seen there in qualifying, Connall, we'll just quickly wrap it up between us 3. It's looking mighty close, but race pace is going to be a whole different story, isn't it?
Oh, for sure, yeah. I mean, nobody truly knows until we get to the first round of the season. No one truly knows who has the strength in terms of race pace. Unfortunately for everybody, they'll only find out at the end of the race. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Of course, qualifying times, they do still reflect pace. Obviously, strategies can be varied. But when you're looking at that, and I always relate it to my own experience of racing motorbikes. So if I came around, coming around to get my pit board, and I seen P6.2 off, I'd just be open mouthed. And I'm sure that's the reactions of some people. So yeah, they may treat it, especially their stint, they may treat it like a sprint race, which will be exciting for us.
Definitely will. And just thinking about the guys that are a bit further down in that one, Kyle, that didn't quite qualify where they'll want to be, what do you reckon one of the best strategies will be that they could pull off there? I mean, if you were in that situation, what would you go for?
Look, it's definitely something I've done throughout my endurance career in the real world. We've done a lot of endurance karting, a lot of endurance racing. If we don't qualify as high up as we want, it's definitely an early stop to get out of the traffic and get our faster driver in as soon as possible and get him to run the longest possible stint to try and make some time up. So I don't know. I mean, we've seen guys run early stops and do well, and we've seen those run long and do well. So it's going to be difficult to work out in terms of strategy, especially in these GT3 cars, and especially in the difference between the manufacturers. Some cars are a little bit better on their tires, some a little bit worse off. So I think testing is going to take play a massive part in making that decision. And the guys that have put the laps into the cars that they're driving, I'm sure have got their setups dialed in and in terms of what they're going to do strategy-wise. So it's going to be a nice mixed match between everybody, but I would definitely, from the back, have a look at getting myself out of the traffic as soon as possible and try and set some decent, clean air lap times before the next round stops.
Definitely. Well, it's going to be interesting to see what the race throws at them and how they have to adapt their strategies from what they had planned. Of course, we don't know what everyone's got planned at this stage, but that's part of the exciting bit being up here in the commentary box. So, join myself, Connall and Kyle. My name's Chaz Draycott and we are on the sim grid, and we will be back with you in just about half an hour's time, 2:45 BST, for round 1 of the Sim Grid Endurance Cup. We'll see you soon.